Commander Lee stood at the command center window, staring at the night sky. The stars looked different tonight. Not because they had changed, but because among them now floated the massive warships of the Draconian Empire. Status report, Lee said, his voice steady despite the weight of humanity's future pressing down on him. Officer Park looked up from her console, her face illuminated by the blue glow of her screens. The alien fleet has established high orbit. 327 vessels confirmed. Their formation suggests military precision. The room fell silent as the main screen activated, showing the crescent-shaped ships against the blackness of space. Their hulls gleamed with an unnatural metallic sheen that no human craft had ever achieved. "They're beautiful, in a terrifying way," whispered technical specialist Hannah. Admiral Kong entered the command center, his aged face showing no fear. The Security Council is assembled. All major nations are prepared to implement unified defense protocols. "What defense?" muttered someone in the back of the room. "Those ships could glass our cities in minutes." Lee understood the sentiment. Earth's most advanced weapons would barely scratch the Draconian vessels. The aliens' technology was centuries ahead of humanity's. The largest screen flickered and changed. A reptilian face appeared, scales glinting under harsh lighting. Its vertical pupils narrowed as it assessed the humans before it. "People of Earth," the creature spoke in perfect, if unnaturally deep, English. "I am Supreme Commander Krax of the Draconian Empire. Your planet has been selected for immediate resource extraction and colonization. Resistance is futile and will result in unnecessary suffering." Lee felt his heart hammering in his chest but kept his expression neutral. "You have 6 hours to surrender your governments to Draconian control. After that time, we will begin systematic elimination of military targets followed by population centers until compliance is achieved." The transmission ended abruptly. "They didn't even wait for a response," said Park. Admiral Kong nodded grimly. "They don't care for one. This isn't a negotiation." Outside the command center windows, the night sky suddenly lit up as smaller craft began to deploy from the larger ships. Hundreds of fighter-sized vessels descended into the upper atmosphere, taking up strategic positions above major cities. "They're surrounding us," said Hannah, scanning the incoming data. "Positioning for a coordinated first strike." Lee turned to Admiral Kong. "Sir, it's time." The Admiral's eyes narrowed slightly before he nodded. "Send the authorization code. Activate Hydra." Park's fingers flew across her console. "Sending authorization now. All stations acknowledging." In a secure underground facility thousands of kilometers away, Dr. Min received the code and began the sequence they had prepared for decades. "Hydra protocols initiated," she reported back. "Quantum displacement network powering up. 30 minutes to full capacity." Back at the command center, Lee watched as more Draconian fighters entered Earth's atmosphere. Their confidence was absolute. Why wouldn't it be? From their perspective, they were about to conquer a primitive planet with minimal effort. "Sir," Park called out, "we're receiving transmissions from cities around the world. The Draconians are broadcasting their demands directly to civilian populations." "Mass panic will only help them," Lee said. "Direct all emergency channels to begin the prepared response." Operation Silent Shield is now active. Across the globe, carefully selected military and civilian units began implementing plans developed in secret over 3 decades. Surface-to-air defenses fired at the alien craft but purposely missed their targets. Tank columns rolled out of hidden bunkers only to be easily destroyed by Draconian energy weapons. It was all for show. "The Draconians are taking the bait," reported Officer Kim from the tactical station. "They're interpreting our responses as disorganized and primitive. Their main fleet is moving to lower orbit as predicted." Admiral Kong nodded with grim satisfaction. "Continue the charade. Make them believe we're helpless and disorganized." A junior officer approached Lee with a secure tablet. "Sir, Dr. Min reports the quantum displacement network is at 70% capacity. First phase targeting solutions are locked. Outside, the night sky had become a terrifying spectacle of power as Draconian ships positioned themselves for what they believed would be a quick conquest. "How long until the Hydra is fully operational?" Lee asked. 15 minutes, sir." Lee gazed up at the alien armada, knowing that for all their advanced technology, the Draconians had made one critical mistake. They had assumed humans would fight conventionally. They had no idea that Earth had been preparing something entirely different. "Send word to all command centers," Lee said quietly. "Tell them, the dragons are about to learn why humans are history's apex predators." 30 years before the Draconian invasion, Dr. Jean sat alone in his small observatory on Jeju Island. It was past midnight when his equipment picked up the signal, a pattern too regular to be natural, too complex to be human. He checked and rechecked his instruments before making the call. "General Choi? I found something you need to see." Within 24 hours, Dr. Jin's discovery was classified at the highest level. The signals weren't directed at Earth, but they revealed something chilling: humanity was not alone, and the others out there were warriors. 5 years later, an underground facility took shape beneath Mount Sorak. Dr. Jean and a team of Earth's brightest minds worked in secret, analyzing the intercepted communications. "We now understand their language, Dr. Jean told the assembled military leaders from 12 nations. "The Draconians are conquerors. They have subjugated 17 worlds. Their technology far exceeds ours, especially their weapons." "So what hope do we have?" asked the American general. Professor Sun, a quantum physicist, stepped forward. "Every predator has blind spots. The Draconians rely on energy weapons and shields. But we've discovered something they seem to have overlooked." She displayed a rotating diagram of a device unlike anything the military officials had seen before. "We call it Hydra. Not a weapon in the traditional sense, but a dimensional displacement system." "In simple terms?" asked the Russian representative. Dr. Jean smiled slightly. "We can make things disappear. Not by destroying them, but by shifting them temporarily into a pocket dimension." The room fell silent before erupting in questions. Could it work on something as large as a spaceship? Could it be detected? Could it be defended against? 20 years before the invasion, the first small-scale tests were conducted. A tank vanished from a desert testing ground and reappeared exactly 6 hours later. The following year, a decommissioned destroyer disappeared from the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Dr. Jean and Professor Sun were now joined by Dr. Dal, a specialist in artificial intelligence. Together, they refined the quantum displacement system, making it more powerful, more precise. "The beauty of this approach," Dr. Dal explained to the now Global Defense Committee, "is that the Draconians won't be looking for it. Their defenses are designed to stop energy weapons, physical projectiles, and electronic warfare. This operates on principles their science seems to have overlooked." 15 years before the invasion, construction began on a network of satellites disguised as weather and communication platforms. Each contained components of the Hydra system, designed to create a web that could capture entire fleets. "If they ever come," said Colonel Park during an inspection of the facility, "they'll expect us to fight with missiles and jets." Dr. Jean nodded. "And when they don't work, the Draconians will think us helpless and primitive. Their arrogance will be their weakness." 10 years before the invasion, a breakthrough came in the form of boarding technology. If ships could be displaced into the pocket dimension, humans would need a way to access them. "The dimensional shift requires biological anchoring," explained Dr. Dal as he demonstrated with a lab mouse that vanished and reappeared. "These suits will allow our soldiers to follow the displaced ships and maintain stable existence in the pocket dimension." Special forces units from around the world began training in secret facilities, preparing to board and capture alien vessels. They studied the intercepted Draconian communications to learn about ship layouts, likely defenses, and potential vulnerabilities. 5 years before the invasion, the quantum displacement network was complete. A full-scale test successfully shifted a small island in the South Pacific 3 meters to the left in dimensional space for exactly 10 minutes. "We're ready," Dr. Jean told the assembled world leaders. "But we must hope we never need to use it." In the final months before the Draconians arrived, Dr. Jean, now old and stooped, stood in the control room of the Hydra facility. The walls were lined with screens monitoring deep space. Young technicians worked at stations he had designed decades ago. "Do you think it will work?" asked Dr. Dal, who had become his closest friend through their years of secret work. "It has to," Jean replied simply. "We've spent 3 decades preparing for this moment. Our technology may seem primitive compared to theirs, but they don't know what we know." They both watched as the long-range sensors detected the first signs of approaching ships. "They think they're the hunters coming to claim their prey," Dr. Jean said softly. "They have no idea they're flying into a trap 30 years in the making." He looked at the activation key hanging around his neck, the culmination of his life's work, humanity's secret weapon against an enemy that thought Earth defenseless. The Draconians are about to learn that not all predators roar before they strike. The Draconian fleet commander Zexvor stood on the bridge of his massive flagship, watching Earth's pathetic military attempts with amusement. The humans had launched primitive missiles which his ship's defense systems easily vaporized. Their jet fighters were swatted from the sky like insects. "Pitiful creatures," he hissed to his second-in-command. "They still fight with combustion weapons and radio communications." Around him, the bridge crew of scaled warriors worked efficiently at their stations. Holographic displays showed the positions of all 300 Draconian warships now spreading into attack formation around the blue planet. "Begin the first wave of planetary bombardment," Zexvor ordered. "Target their military installations first, then government centers." "Yes, Commander," responded his weapons officer. Charging main cannons. In the Hydra control center deep beneath Mount Sorak, Dr. Dal watched the alien fleet's movements with intense focus. The moment they had prepared for over 3 decades had arrived. The Draconians had positioned themselves exactly where the Earth defense team had predicted. "The fleet has moved into optimal displacement range," reported Officer Munn, her fingers flying over her console. "All 327 ships are within the Hydra network's field." Dr. Dal nodded. "Begin power-up sequence." Around the globe, the seemingly innocent satellites that had been placed in orbit over decades suddenly activated hidden systems. They formed an invisible web of quantum energy, undetectable by conventional sensors. "Hydra network at 60% capacity," reported Technician Bay. 70%, 80. On the Draconian flagship, an ensign suddenly looked up from his monitoring station with confusion. "Commander, I'm detecting an unusual energy signature surrounding our fleet. It doesn't match any known weapons system." Zexvor frowned. "Analyze and report." Before the ensign could respond, alarms began blaring across the bridge. "Sir! We've lost contact with the Savage Claw," shouted the communications officer. "And the Deathbringer, and the Night Hunter." Zexvor rushed to the tactical display. 3 ships on the fleet's outer perimeter had disappeared from their sensors. Not destroyed, there was no debris, no explosion, just gone. "What is happening?" he demanded. "Unknown, Commander. The ships are simply vanishing." In the next moment, 5 more warships disappeared from the display. "Full shields. Prepare for immediate." The commander's words were cut short as a strange ripple passed through his flagship. The bridge lights flickered, and a sensation like being turned inside out washed over every Draconian aboard. When the sensation passed, Zexvor looked out the main viewport and gasped. The Earth was gone. His ship now floated in a strange, gray void with no stars, no sun, no reference points at all. And surrounding his flagship were the missing Draconian vessels. "Where are we?" whispered his second-in-command. In the Hydra facility, cheers erupted as the main screen showed the Draconian fleet vanishing ship by ship. "Phase 1 complete," announced Dr. Dal. All Draconian vessels successfully displaced to the pocket dimension. Colonel Kim stepped forward. "Prepare boarding teams. We have 6 hours before the dimensional shift destabilizes." Across the facility, soldiers in specialized dimensional suits gathered in transport chambers. Each team had trained for years for this moment, studying Draconian ship layouts and technology. "Remember," Colonel Kim told the assembled troops, "we're not there to destroy but to capture." The Draconian's technology will advance humanity by centuries if we succeed. On the Draconian flagship, pandemonium reigned. Every system was still functional, but nothing outside the ship made sense. Their sensors detected the rest of the fleet nearby, all equally disoriented. Establish communication with the other vessels, Zexvor ordered. Find out if anyone knows what weapon the humans used against us. Sir, the tactical officer called out, internal sensors are detecting energy signatures throughout the ship. Something is coming aboard. Zexvor drew his plasma pistol. Security teams to all decks. Prepare for boarders. But he wasn't prepared for what happened next. Shimmering figures appeared directly on the bridge, humans in strange suits that seemed to flicker in and out of reality. Before any Draconian could fire a weapon, the humans deployed devices that filled the air with a pale blue gas. Zexvor felt his limbs growing heavy as the bridge crew collapsed around him. The last thing the mighty commander saw before consciousness faded was a human face looking down at him through a helmeted visor. The hunter becomes the hunted, said the human calmly in perfect Draconian language. As darkness claimed him, Zexvor realized the devastating truth: the primitives had never been primitive at all. They had been waiting, planning, preparing. And the mighty Draconian Empire had fallen right into their trap. Commander Zexvor regained consciousness slowly. His reptilian eyes adjusted to the strange lighting of a room unlike any he had ever seen. The walls were smooth white, with no visible joins or seams. He tried to move, discovering his limbs were restrained by some kind of energy field that allowed minimal movement but prevented any chance of escape. Across from him sat a human in a simple uniform. The name Captain Du was displayed on a small badge. The human watched him calmly, showing neither fear nor triumph. "You are awake, Commander," Captain Du said in perfect Draconian language. "Good. We have much to discuss." Zexvor hissed in defiance. "I will tell you nothing. The Draconian Empire does not negotiate with prey species." "Prey?" Captain Du smiled slightly. "I believe there has been a misunderstanding about which of us is the predator." With a small gesture, Captain Du activated a holographic display showing hundreds of Draconian warships held in what appeared to be a vast grey nothingness. "Your entire fleet has been captured intact," the captain explained. "Not destroyed, captured. An important distinction." "Impossible," Zexvor growled. "No species has technology capable of displacing an entire battle fleet. And yet, here we are." Captain Du stood and walked closer. "What you experienced was a quantum displacement field. Your ships now exist in what we call a pocket dimension, a space between spaces that we created specifically to trap your fleet." Meanwhile, aboard the captured Draconian flagship, Lieutenant Zhu led her team through the massive vessel. The Draconian crew had been neutralized with non-lethal gas and were being secured in designated holding areas. "Begin the technology assessment," she ordered. "I want everything catalogued and understood before we bring this ship back to real space." Her engineers moved efficiently through the alien vessel, their specialized suits allowing them to exist in the pocket dimension while their equipment scanned and analyzed Draconian technology. "Lieutenant, you need to see this," called Sergeant Han from what appeared to be the ship's engine room. "Their power source, it's unlike anything in our theoretical models." Zhu examined the pulsing core at the center of the chamber. "This could revolutionize our energy production. Mark it as priority 1 for research teams." In another section of the ship, Corporal Song discovered the weapons control center. "Their targeting systems are advanced, but the principles are recognizable," he reported. "We can adapt this to our defense systems." Back in the interrogation room, Captain Du watched as the Draconian commander struggled with his new reality. "How long have you been planning this?" Zexvor finally asked. 30 years, replied Du. "We intercepted your communications decades ago. We knew you were coming eventually, so we prepared." 30 years? The commander's scale shifted color in what Du recognized as shock. "You built a weapon to fight an enemy you had never even seen?" "Not a weapon," Du corrected. "A trap." Your empire has conquered 17 worlds because you always expect direct confrontation, energy weapons, missiles, conventional warfare. We chose a different approach. In the Hydra Control Center, Dr. Dal supervised the systematic capture of every Draconian vessel. On his main screen, he watched as boarding teams moved through the alien ships, securing crew and technology. The displacement field will only hold for another 4 hours, warned his assistant. We need to begin bringing ships back to real space soon. Prepare test return for the smallest vessel first, ordered Dr. Dal. Let's ensure the transit back is stable before we attempt it with the larger ships. A small Draconian scout ship shimmered and vanished from the pocket dimension, reappearing moments later in a secure facility in Earth orbit. Transit successful, reported the technician. Ship structure maintained at 100% integrity. Dr. Dal nodded with satisfaction. Begin processing the remaining vessels. 1 every 5 minutes. Aboard the flagship, Lieutenant Zhu made a startling discovery in the commander's private quarters. Captain, we've found their war plans. The Earth was just the beginning. They plan to use our planet as a staging ground to attack 3 other nearby star systems. Send the data immediately, ordered Captain Du through the communication link. This confirms everything we suspected. In the interrogation room, Zexpor watched as Captain Du received the information. The human's expression hardened. Your empire has made a critical mistake, Commander, Du said quietly. You assumed that because we weren't spacefaring, we weren't dangerous. You thought our technological development indicated our capabilities. Du leaned forward. But humans don't win through superior strength or technology. We win because we imagine threats before they arrive, and we prepare for them in ways our enemies never expect. For the first time in his long military career, Commander Zexpor felt something he had never experienced before: fear of a supposedly lesser species. What happens now? He asked. Captain Du stood. Now, Commander, you learn why throughout human history, it was never wise to corner something that was willing to change the rules of engagement when threatened. 6 months after the day the Draconian fleet vanished, Earth had changed in ways few could have imagined. In a sprawling research facility outside Seoul, Dr. Dal walked beside Ambassador Wu from the newly formed United Earth government. They passed through security checkpoints where human and Draconian scientists now work side by side. The integration of their technology is proceeding faster than expected, Dr. Dal explained. Their power generation systems alone have solved our energy crisis. No more fossil fuels, no more nuclear waste. They stopped at a massive window overlooking a hangar where engineers swarmed around what had once been the Draconian flagship. Its sleek hull was being modified with human innovations. And what of the crew? Asked Ambassador Wu. Most have accepted our terms, replied Dr. Dal. 300 have already begun the cultural integration program. They're learning that cooperation can be more beneficial than conquest. In another part of the complex, former Commander Zexpor sat across from Captain Du. The Draconian no longer wore military insignia but simple civilian clothing. His posture had changed over the months, less rigid, less imposing. Our latest transmission to the Empire was received, Captain Du said, sliding a tablet across the table. Their response arrived this morning. Zexpor read the message, his scaled face revealing nothing. They don't believe it's really me. They think your species has created some kind of deception. Will they send another fleet? The Draconian made a sound that might have been a laugh. No. The Empire doesn't risk assets where they might lose them. The disappearance of the entire Crimson Fleet has made them cautious. Earth is now classified as a restricted zone. Captain Du nodded. Good. We prefer peace, but we're prepared for alternatives. Meanwhile, at the United Nations headquarters in New York, Director Su addressed the General Assembly. Behind her, a holographic display showed Earth's first true interstellar vessel under construction in orbit. The Horizon will be ready for its maiden voyage in 3 weeks, she announced. Using modified Draconian drive systems, we can reach Alpha Centauri in just 14 days. The assembly erupted in applause. But this is only the beginning, she continued when the noise subsided. The data we recovered from the Draconian fleet reveals 26 spacefaring civilizations in our galactic neighborhood. Many have suffered under Draconian expansion. They are potential allies. At the lunar shipyards, Lieutenant Zhu, now Captain Zhu, supervised the final assembly of a defense fleet. 12 ships built with a combination of human ingenuity and Draconian technology formed the core of Earth's new protective force. The quantum displacement system has been installed in all vessels, reported her chief engineer. And we've added the modifications you suggested. Zhu nodded with satisfaction. The Draconians never considered using their own technology against them. That's the difference between us. They build to destroy. We build to adapt. In the rehabilitation center where cooperative Draconians were learning to integrate with human society, Professor Gill taught a class on comparative ethics. 7 Draconians listened with varying degrees of interest as he explained concepts that had never existed in their militaristic culture. Your empire views conquest as the natural order, Gill said. But Earth's history shows a different path. Our greatest achievements came not from domination but collaboration. One Draconian named Tech raised a clawed hand. But your species fought countless wars against itself. Yes, Gill acknowledged. And each time, we learned and evolved. Violence gave way to diplomacy. Competition to cooperation. It's why we didn't destroy your fleet when we could have. That evening, Dr. Dell stood on the observation deck of the orbital station, watching Earth turn slowly below. Captain Du joined him, carrying 2 cups of coffee. The first diplomatic mission leaves for Proxima Centauri next month, Du said. The former enemies of the Draconian Empire are eager to meet the species that captured the undefeatable Crimson Fleet. Dr. Dal accepted the coffee with a smile. 30 years of preparation for a battle that lasted less than an hour. And now look at us, on the verge of joining a galactic community. The Draconians did us a favor, Du replied. Without the threat they represented, we might have remained focused on our petty differences. Below them, the lights of Earth's cities twinkled as night fell across Asia. Those same cities that might have been reduced to ash now shone brighter than ever, powered by advanced Draconian energy systems freely shared with all nations. What happens when we encounter the next threat? Dr. Dal asked. Captain Du sipped his coffee thoughtfully. We'll be ready. That's the human way. We adapt. We prepare. We survive. And we teach others to do the same, added Dr. Dal, watching as a small Draconian ship departed Earth, carrying ambassadors to nearby star systems. Even our former enemies. The ship engaged its drive, creating a brief flash of light before disappearing into the darkness of space. Humanity's message to the stars: we come in peace, but never mistake our kindness for weakness.